Happy hello to you friends, I hope you're doing well. We have finally got new watercolors, yay! Well, I've had them for a little while now. Over 2 months ago I got them. I didn't want to make a video about them right away because I really wanted to test them out and get used to them first, which I did. And I can now officially say that I love them with all of my heart. These are the Shinhan professional watercolors. I got the pack of 20 12mm tubes. Now, this video is a little different in the way that it's set up because I was so excited when the watercolors first arrived. I wanted to open them and swatch them right away, which I filmed, of course. But that, like I said, was over 2 months ago. So I'll play that first so you get my initial reactions and everything, and then we'll get onto the regular video. Oh, and quick disclaimer, this video is not sponsored in any form, I'm not being paid in any way, and they did not send me these for free. I bought these paints with my own money, and I am just giving a completely honest review of them. Okay? Okay. I hope you enjoy the video. See you in a bit. I'm so excited. I need a palette knife. Little guy. Got paint on the tin already. Stop. Okay. Got Van Dyke Brown. Pop that back in there. I don't know. I've never had a proper set before, so I don't actually know what colors I'll use the most. I've only ever had like the primary colors and like a purple and a green. So we'll actually be learning today what colors I'll use. Like extra colors like browns, extra greens, I've never done actual talking in a video before. I don't even know if I'll like keep this in. Should I just squeeze them all out and then fix them? Maybe they'll be faster. I'll be making a swatch card as well to, oh my god, these are so finicky. I'll be getting a swatch swatch sheet so I know what all of the colors look like. I don't think I've ever had a proper orange before. I've had a warm yellow that was kind of orange, but I haven't had like an actual like this orange before. We have a yellow ochre, which is good. I think I'll use yellow ochre a lot. So I'm gonna put extra in there. Got a cool yellow. So we've got a warm and a cool version of all of the primary colors. We've got 4 whole greens, which is wild. I'm only ever used to 2 greens. Like a light green, like kind of limeish, and then like a dark bluish green is what I'm used to. That just looks black or blue, like a dark blue, but it's Viridian. Get back in there. There we go. That's a little tip. If you ever have like just a tiny bit out of the tube, just like kind of like shake it and tap it, and it should just fall back into the tube because the tapping gets rid of the air beneath it, which is what is pushing it out. Prussian blue. And one purple, which is okay. I only use purple sometimes to tint my greens. Okay, that is all of them squeezed out. Now I'm going to put into a time lapse of me fixing all of these, so we'll be back. Okay, we are back, and I'm going to make a, is this big enough? It is. I'm going to make a swatch card out of Fabriano hot press watercolor paper. So the difference between hot press and cold press, not everyone knows this, but basically it's how they make the paper. Hot press is pressed with a hot plate and it's much smoother, and then you'll find with cold press paper that it's got more tooth or like more texture to it. People have their preferences, but I don't actually mind which one I use. So let me, oops, I'm getting stuff all over. I have paint all over my hands. Okay, let me measure this out and cut out a piece of card. I'll be right back. Okay, I have a strip of watercolor paper here, and I'm just going to grab, which brush should I get? I'll grab this one. It's just this regular round brush, and I'm just going to grab the tiniest bit of water and just dip. I usually use watercolor when it's dried, so that's why I'm putting it in. Oh wait, that's really nice. That's why I'm squeezing out all of my watercolors into a palette, because I'm gonna let it dry. But this is actually quite nice. Do I have a piece of? I do. Boop. Just a tiny bit of water. Ooh, it spreads really nicely in the water. My old watercolors don't really do that. They do sort of bleed a bit, but nowhere near like that. That's so beautiful. Oh, that's a nice green. Okay, so I'm going to leave a chunk in the middle so I can write down all of the names. See how it kind of bloomed there? Like it kind of like whoop when some of the paint just touched the water. See, it moves a lot. I'm already noticing like a huge difference in the quality of these new watercolors versus my old watercolors, which is fair enough. It's what you'd expect from changing from a student grade paint to a professional artist level. Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, this one. Ooh, that's beautiful color. That's a beautiful color. I can see that being used for water. And last purple. That. I'm already loving these watercolors. Okay, so you can't see the white, obviously. I could have put like a piece of toned paper there if I wanted, but oh well. So I'm gonna wait for this to dry and I'll write all of the names on. And then I'll probably stop recording for now and I'll use them over a period of time, and I'll get back to you guys on my first and sort of extended impressions of the Shinhan professional watercolors. Okay, bye-bye. And we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I have been using these watercolors for a little while now, and you might have seen me use them in some of my previous videos, but I will be painting a new spread with them for this video, and I was really craving goats. I recorded this part of the video the day after I recorded my previous video about Be Messy, and I loved drawing Puppy in that spread, so I really wanted to draw more goats, so that's what we're doing. And of course I have notes on my thoughts of the watercolors that I will share with you all. These are artist grade watercolors. So if you don't know, when it comes to art supplies, there are different grades, or I guess levels, to the art supply that indicates its quality and its cost. It's pretty simple. The higher the quality, the higher the cost, like with most things. Well, there are different grades to art supplies that gives a rough estimate to the quality and the cost. There's 3 grades, I believe. I can't remember the name of the first one, but that's the lowest. That covers the cheapest and lowest quality art supplies. Then there's student grade, higher quality, but obviously not professional and are usually pretty cheap. That's the most common grade for hobbyists and students, hence the name student grade. And then there's artist grade, the highest grade with the highest quality, and it usually costs the most. Of course, each grade is a spectrum, and the grade is usually just a guideline. Anyway, Shinhan professional watercolors are artist grade. I got my set from Amazon for roughly 70 Australian dollars, which is pretty cheap for artist grade paints, and I will definitely say these paints are worth the money. I really like painting with these. You saw in that first section of the video, I was only doing a simple swatch card, and I was already really liking how the paint looked, felt, and so on. Anyway, I took notes over the couple of months that I was using these, and I will go over them now. First thing that I noticed when I first used them for an actual like watercolor piece was the wash that I put down dried pretty quickly. Which I really appreciated because I am so impatient. I did a light wash with my mop brush and it was touch dry within maybe 5 to 10 minutes, which was so nice because I'm used to waiting 15 to 20 minutes for my wash to dry. The next thing is something I already mentioned in that first section of the video, and that's that the paint blooms and bleeds really beautifully in water. I can easily see myself creating some really cool ombre and blending effects with this paint. Moving on, I noticed that the paint is very easy to move around after it has been put on the paper, which I am not used to. With my student grade paints, you can move the paint around for maybe a few seconds before it absorbs into the paper, and then it's stuck unless you re-wet it. But that waters it down and you lose the vibrancy of the color. Not the case with the Shinhan watercolors. I could move the paint around for a solid minute or two before it dried, which was so nice. It worked really well for blending and such. And this also relates to the next thing, which is because it can be moved around for longer, it also can be lifted in a longer amount of time. With my student grade paints, once the paint had dried, it would be on there. It would almost stain the paper, so I couldn't take away paint to add light or to just remove a mistake. But with the Shinhan watercolors, I could do this. Of course, after a long period of time, this wouldn't work because that's not how most watercolor paints work, unless you're using a special non-staining paint. But the window where I can lift the paint off was much longer than the student grade paints. It's really strange because the wash dried so quickly, but when the paint is more concentrated, it takes longer to dry. I don't know what that means. Anyway, there is a downside to this slower drying time. You need to wait for the layer to be 100% completely dry, because if you don't and you put a new layer of paint over a not completely dry layer of paint, the first layer will be lifted into the water on the new layer and mix with it, and then you'll just have a muddy, icky mess. So you definitely need to be patient with this paint. But I think that's the only downside I've encountered so far. I suppose some people might want more colors for what you're paying for, but personally I don't mind. I prefer to mix my own colors when it comes to paint anyway, and I honestly think that 20 tubes of paint at this quality is definitely priced fairly. Like I said, it was around $70 Australian, but if that is too much for you, which is completely fair, I'm not denying that $70 is a lot of money. Shinhan do have smaller sets of those paints that are cheaper. So another thing that I noticed with these paints is that they have subtle granulation. Now, I did have to do a quick little research to make sure I got this right. But granulation is basically a characteristic of some watercolor paints where the particles of the pigment cluster together whilst drying. That makes the watercolor look mottled or textured. I'll put an example of what I'm talking about up on screen. The row on top doesn't have granulation, but the bottom row does. Now, this example is exaggerated, so not all watercolors will look like this. The artist has just painted it this way for the example. But more commonly what you see with granulation is that when a brush stroke of watercolor dries, it'll have like this little outline around the shape that is slightly darker than the rest of the paint. That is granulation, and the Shinhan professional watercolors have that, which I really like personally. I think granulation is really pretty and I love seeing it in artwork. I feel like it's a really iconic look of watercolor. But some people don't like the look of it, so the fact that these paints granulate may sway your decision to get these paints or not. I don't know, but just keep that in mind. And we have reached the end of the video. This was a long one, and it took quite a while to edit, but that's okay. But before we wrap up, I'd just like to quickly talk about my YouTube schedule real quick. So I'm in my last semester of my degree at uni, and it's going to be extremely busy over the next 6 months. So I've decided once again to slow my YouTube schedule down. I'll be posting a video once a month for the rest of the year. I wish I didn't have to do this, but if I don't, I'm just going to completely burn myself out. I hope you all understand. Thank you for your patience and support of the channel. It really means so much to me. But yeah, I hope you like the goats. I really like them. I had a lot of fun painting these guys, and I absolutely love my new watercolors. I can't wait to use them more. I would certainly recommend them. I'm still learning them, how they work and how I like to use them, but based on what I've seen and experienced so far, I would definitely recommend them. And that is everything for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you all next time. Bye!